The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
you're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Yep, that's what this is. You know where you are, and most likely you know who I am. Welcome to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, you could have been anywhere, but you decided to spend some time with me, and so for that, I am grateful. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with little old me, nobody but Benjamin Dixon. A lot of exciting stuff happening with the Progressive Army. I can't even really say much of anything other than stick with us. I mess with my wife from time to time. Well, we mess with each other, and she has her things that she says to me, and my thing I always say to her is like, stick with me, I'll take you places. And I'm saying that to the Progressive Army and to everyone listening. Stick with us. We're getting ready to do some exciting things, and I can't even tell you about them. I just want to tease you with them to let you know that we're working, we're grinding, forever hustling, forever grinding. And if I can go back to the 90s, we won't stop because I can't stop. 857-600-0518 is the number to call if you want to join the conversation. So much happening in the news. Donald Trump. Here's the thing about a strong man. You can't make moves without getting permission from your strong man. So we're going to talk about how Donald Trump completely bitched the GOP today. Hilarious. And this is one of those rare occasions that Donald Trump's ego actually does something good. Remember I told you, well, anyway, I don't want to go into it yet. But so we'll talk about Donald Trump. We're going to talk about Megyn Kelly. We're going to talk about the Clintons going to the inauguration of this Russian stooge, right? They're going to the inauguration forum, all those things. And you can join the conversation, of course, 857-600-0518. I have a caller online already. I'm wondering if I should see what this individual wants before I even start my show. I really shouldn't do this, but, you know, never know. Maybe it's a good call. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment? I haven't even said hello to the audience good yet, but you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's Jared from Downingtown, PA.
Hey, Jared, how's it going, man?
It was just like we haven't talked to you in a while, so I was just so eager to call in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, hey, man, I always appreciate your calls, man, so I appreciate it. What's on your mind? Maybe you set the tone for the whole show. What's on your mind? No pressure.
Well, just a little bit of a recommendation for two documentaries I recently saw, which are political. The first one was it's a war documentary about World War II. It's called Tokyo Trial on Netflix.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
Haven't heard of it, but I'll look it up tonight.
It's about the World War II trials in Japan, in Tokyo.
Okay.
About how they tried the war criminals there, who committed the war crimes by the Empire of Japan during World War II.
Okay.
And here's an interesting fact. My grandfather was actually one of the Marines who was at occupation duty at the time during the trials. And the second documentary I want to suggest is a documentary about the upcoming Trump administration. It's called Star Wars Rogue One.
I'm sorry. Okay, I got it. It went past me for a second there. It went right past me for a second, but then I got it though. Okay, go ahead. What else? Tell me about the documentary of Trump.
It was great. They had a Death Star, and they had the Ewoks pay for it. He built hundreds of chops.
This is good.
Cities look just like what Trump Republican policies would be. There's a whole lot of smugglers, drug dealers everywhere. And I really thought the line between the director and Vader was kind of off-putting, but it felt kind of correct when the director said to Vader, I can't stand this political correctness in the galaxy.
All right, man. Jared, thanks for the call, man. That's a good way to start. That's a good way to start the show. I haven't seen Rogue One yet. You know what? I'm weird like that. I actually like Revenge of the Sith. I actually like the prequels, not more than the original 3, not more than the most recent one. I can't think of it. What's the most recent one? Hell, I don't know. But I actually like the transition of Anakin into Darth Vader. I hated the first 2 prequels, but Revenge of the Sith was pretty good to me. I like that one. Anyway, all right, let's talk some politics. Let's start with Donald, and we're back. Okay. 1 second, radio. Okay. Anyway, so I'm just so giddy about stuff today. I clicked on the wrong. I'm supposed to click on the red button, not the blue button. But after a while, I won't be clicking on any buttons. I'll just be able to talk to you. That's another big change that's coming. Anyway, let's talk about politics. And stream resume. Perfect. That's what I wanted to see. All right, so we're back up on YouTube. So let's talk about Donald Trump and the Ford factory. Actually, this has been a pretty good day for Donald Trump overall. Between the ethics committee shenanigans and between the Ford factory feigning as though they're doing this because of Donald Trump, he gets a win. Now, this is something Donald Trump has mastered. He's mastered the news cycle. He's mastered the art of taking credit for stuff that he absolutely has nothing to do with. And he's mastered the art of putting people in their places. And I'm not sure which story is actually the one I want to start. Actually, I do. Let's start with Donald Trump completely and entirely bitching the House Republicans who attempted to run to circumvent the ethics committee. And they did it last night. I think it was around 11 o'clock last night. They voted to essentially gut the independent ethics committee and bring it inside of the House Ethics Committee, losing all the autonomy. And this really was something that got people into action. I mean, some of the Progressive Army team, one of our editors, Jamie Miller, a lot of people were calling from our team from across the world, across the country, trying to call their representatives to let them know that this is unacceptable. And just to give you a little bit more background on what they attempted to do, late last night, House Republicans, before the new Congress even began, convened, they passed measures that would have gutted the Ethics and Oversight of Ethics Committee. No sooner than the sunlight was shined on what they did, Donald Trump waded into the conversation and essentially said that Republicans need to be doing something else. They need to be he put them in line so hard that they backed off of their intention of gutting the ethics committee. And this is going to be a rare occasion. I know the reasons why Donald Trump did this. This was an easy win. This was like a setup. This was something somebody just threw you an alley-oop, and it's no way in the world Donald Trump could have messed this one up. And he knocked it down, and he knocked it down by putting Republicans in their place, which in this case is you don't do anything without your strong man's permission. That's exactly what Donald Trump did to them. So anyway, last night, Republicans voted 119 to 74 during a closed door meeting in favor of Bob Goodlatte. What kind of hell of a last name is that? His proposal, which would have placed the Independent Office of Congressional Ethics under the control of the very lawmakers. So the Ethics Committee is designed to give ethical oversight and oversight of ethics of the House members, congressmen and congresswomen, not just Republicans, Democrats, independents. And so this would have created a scenario where basically like our police forces investigating themselves. Who's going to find themselves guilty? Who in the House, of course, the House always likes to do these dog and pony shows like Benghazi. They like to do, spend hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer money over years of time in order to, quote unquote, investigate, based on ethics violations. And essentially, it's just a political witch hunt, no matter who it's coming from. Democrats engage in it. Republicans engage in it. It's always a dog and pony show. So they have their House Ethics Committee, but then you have the Independent Oversight Committee, which they wanted to get rid of, and they indeed voted to get rid of. According to a report from NBC, a senior House GOP aide familiar with the discussion informed them that, quote, the pressure was building in the press and from constituents this morning regarding the way the reforms were put into place last night. Early this morning, it became clear that we would have a vote problem on the floor with this amendment. Leadership called a special all-conference meeting where it was agreed by unanimous consent to strip the amendment. And they went on to say, CNN added, quote, it's safe to say that Trump's tweet probably added to that pressure, but it was already being heavily covered in the press. So the proposal would have barred the agency from reviewing any violation of criminal law by members of Congress. I mean, flag on the play already, right? It would have required that they turn over complaints instead to the House Ethics Committee or refer the matter to an appropriate federal law enforcement agency. The House Ethics Committee would have had the power to stop an investigation at any point. This is insane. This is absurd. And in a lot of ways, I feel like this is something that is par for the course for the type of administration that Donald Trump is getting ready to run. So people looking at this and saying, oh, Donald Trump did such a good thing. I want you to realize something. Well, one, it's not all Donald Trump. Two, Donald Trump doing this is really a gut check for the Republican Party. This is Donald Trump telling the Republican Party, like the movie, look at me. I am the captain of this ship now. They cannot get away with anything without Donald Trump. They can't move without Donald Trump's permission because Donald Trump will embarrass them. This is what happens when you put a madman in. Now, granted, the Republicans were dead wrong for trying to pull this stunt in the first place, right? They thought they thought it was a freaking free for all. They thought they could just get in there and do whatever the hell they wanted to. Little did they realize they have to first get permission from Big Daddy Trump. And without getting permission from Big Daddy Trump will go to Twitter and make you look like idiots. So I don't think this is so much a statement of Donald Trump's concern with ethics, because I think the number one problem Donald Trump's administration is going to have is going to be violations of ethics all up and down. Every single week we're going to have something because Donald Trump is that type of character. And the people he's surrounding himself with, they are charlatans. So this is not a statement as to Donald Trump's desire to be ethical and to quote unquote drain the swamp. No. He's not draining the swamp. This is not an example of him draining the swamp. This is an example of Donald Trump saying, look here, Speaker Ryan, I'm running the show now. And it's amazing how much Republicans complain and try to lecture President Obama about knowing the divisions of government. And Paul Ryan put out his lame ass video. That's one lame ass person. I'm telling you, Paul Ryan is one of the corniest. He is one of the lamest dudes I've ever seen in my life. And he's so confident with his lameness, like not confident into the point where he's no longer lame. He's confident to the point where his lameness is magnified. Right. He put out that whack ass video trying to lecture somebody on. And so the way our government works, President Obama, in case you didn't know, and all the time, Donald Trump is coming around the corner with a haymaker saying, get in line, bitch. I mean, Paul Ryan, this is going to be a hilarious 4 years. It's going to be a disturbing 4 years. There's going to be a lot of horrible things that happen, but at least we can laugh as we go and watch these Republicans get put in line, gut checked, get cucked and bitched by Donald Trump on a regular basis because, as we saw today, nothing happens. Now, That's the funny part. The sad part about it is they are not going to be able to hold Donald Trump accountable. Donald Trump controls the RNC, and so long as the Republican Party, so long as politicians are beholden to fundraising abilities, they are not going to shake the boat with Donald Trump. They are not going to rock the boat because Donald Trump could send out one tweet and end their careers. On the flip side, Donald Trump could send out one tweet about a Democrat or an independent or a Green Party. He could attack one of us and make our careers. See how, it's such a twisted irony that we're getting ready to go into. So Republicans, I'm sorry, and I keep laughing about the funny part, but the disturbing part is they are not going to be able to hold Donald Trump accountable for anything because they are afraid of Donald Trump. And they should be afraid of Donald Trump because Donald Trump can sway all of their constituents to vote their asses out. And so the Republican Party has gotten what they want. They are in charge, but they are beholden 100% and completely to Donald Trump, who at any time he wants to can devastate their desires because they have to get in line and obey. Likewise, or on the flip side, all we have to do is rebel. That's all we have to do. And wait. Oh, God, I wish. I know there are Democrats who are waiting in line like, oh, God, please let Donald Trump attack me. That's the twisted world of politics, man. All right, so that's what happened. So this amendment to disband the Independent Oversight Committee, it's going nowhere because of pressure from constituents as well as Donald Trump coming in and putting them in line and letting them know if anybody's going to violate the ethics of the federal office, it's going to be him. All right, caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and/or question?
Hey, this is Brianna Guy.
Hey, Brianna, how are you? What's on your
I'm
mind?
from Maryland. Pretty good. It seems like that Donald Trump isn't going to listen to anybody but Donald Trump.
Exactly.
People say, oh, he has all these advisors, he has all these people, he has Mike Pence, I want to keep in mind. That ain't going to happen. His ego's too big. He's just going to listen to himself.
Exactly, I agree.
And my question is to you, because I know we're all focusing on the negative Trump administration for the next 4 years. In your point of view or your opinion, what do you think are the positives that can come out of it?
Oh, man.
Not just with legislation or laws, just anything. Like the left maybe rising up like Jimmy Dore predicted, I guess?
Well, so Jimmy had predicted something that I never believed, but I'll get back to Jimmy. Okay, so what good can come from a Donald Trump administration? Moments like this, and I said this before I think like right after the election, we can get some good out of Donald Trump whenever something good intersects with his ego. Like today, this was an ego trip letting the Republican Party know who's the boss. Well, it did result in something positive, which was this amendment disappeared. It's gone. They pulled it. And so there's still going to be an independent oversight committee. So that's a good thing. I don't think Donald Trump is going to do I just have no belief whatsoever that Donald Trump is interested in doing something positive for America that's independent from his personal benefit. Very few people, I can't say very few people, but very few people like Donald Trump will actually do something that's detrimental to themselves, but positive for the rest of America or the world. Donald Trump is not one of those people. He's going to do things that are beneficial to him, his grip on power, his control, his bottom line, or simply his ego. And today was primarily about ego, and it worked out good for America. So I think in that regard, anytime something positive intersects with his ego, we can get something good. And we can get something good even if it goes against the Republican Party, because he's let the Republican Party know he's in charge. The left will rise, but I don't think the left is going to rise in the way that Jimmy Dore predicted. He predicted the left will become unified. I think the left is, I think we have irreconcilable differences with the Democratic Party. I just don't see us being able to work with the Democratic Party. And to hear that coming from me, the person who I just kind of tacitly went along as I could to see if there's anything to redeem about the Democratic Party. I'm not sure that there's anything to redeem whatsoever about the Democratic Party. So there's not going to be a unified left, but what we can get is a hyper mobilized left, progressives out being activists, progressives running for office, progressives being active on the local district and local precinct levels. Those are some of the positive things that I think we can get out of the next 4 years. Thanks for the call.
All right.
857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. I want to pick back up with this other thing. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just reading something. Okay, let's talk about Donald Trump and Ford. So this is one of those things where Donald Trump and business people, they know the game, and they know the game well. So Ford announced today that they are no longer going to be moving a factory, building a $1.6 billion plant in Mexico. They are going to instead invest $700 million to expand a Michigan hybrid car factory. Ford's chief executive officer said that the move was, quote, a vote of confidence in the economic policies of President-elect Trump. Yeah, okay. And so the production, the expanded production. So instead of going and spend $1.6 billion in Mexico, they're going to expand production in Michigan and yield a total of 700 additional jobs. So, I mean, yay, congratulations for those 700 people, right? Listen, have I ever been jobless? I can't remember when I was jobless, but I have worked jobs so crappy that I almost was homeless in job and working. So I don't take for granted when a single individual gets a job. That means something, right? Or when an individual gets a raise, that actually means something, right? So for those 700 people, good on them. Congratulations. Here's the squeeze, though. Here's the joke. So Donald Trump tweeted out before, or almost simultaneously with the Ford's announcement, letting them know that their companies are going to have to make and manufacture in the USA or pay a big border tax. And then a few seconds later, or almost simultaneously, Ford came out and said that they're no longer going to produce in Mexico. The average American put one and one together and say, oh, Ford is doing what Donald Trump wants. Ford is caving in and obeying Donald Trump. And you have people just scurrying all around the country now saying, yay, look at what Donald Trump did. Ford is coming back, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? Not so, it's not that clear cut. And actually, it's not that at all. So a few hours before Ford's announcement, Trump complained also about GM. And this is where he gave, all the quotes that he gave. But the trick is small production like the Ford Focus, it's still going to Mexico. And it's going to an existing plant. And the CEO of Ford has made it clear in his announcement. It's funny how people listen to one part, but not the whole announcement. In the rest of his announcement, he let it be known that this decision is actually a business decision. This is a decision because it's no longer based on their forecast. It's no longer going to be profitable for them to move that plant or create that plant in Mexico. He's actually stated, he said, quote, we reached the point where we believe we could get capital savings by abandoning the new plant. Period. So Donald Trump, being the master of the media that he is running around the country acting as though he has somehow miraculously or just by his sheer presence. This is what this blah, blah, blah. This is what this man wants you to believe, that his sheer presence, it changes things. And some of you actually believe this, but it's a game that's being played. The game is this. Ford has adjusted their forecast based on a couple of factors, not to mention the cost of labor, not to mention their independent business model, but also based on the forthcoming tax breaks, corporate tax breaks that Donald Trump is going to give. These corporate tax breaks are huge. I think they're going down from 35% to 15%. This is a windfall for corporations. This is what they mean when they said earlier. They said that this is a vote of confidence in the economic policies of Donald Trump. This is not a vote of confidence in the tariffs and the border tax that they have to pay to, not the tariffs, but the border tax to bring their production back over. They don't have any, they have zero confidence in that. Businesses have absolute confidence in not having to play with 35% corporate tax, but rather play with a 15% corporate tax. And what I mean by play, I mean getting in and adjusting it down to zero, because that's essentially what they're doing anyway with their effective tax rates. So their vote of confidence is in Donald Trump's gutting of the American economic tax coffers, in exchange for tax breaks for their corporations. So these corporations have no problem. Why would they fight against Trump on making things in the United States when, one, it's more economically viable for them to make it in the United States? According to Ford, he said it just makes no sense. He said, quote, in the same statement, he said, quote, "We reached the point where we believe we could get capital savings by abandoning the new plan." Nothing to do with Trump. But then, two, why would they fight against Trump when they're getting ready to get the biggest tax break they've ever gotten in their lives? So what they do is they play along and say, yes, Big Daddy Trump, we are doing exactly what you want us to do. So long as you give us those tax breaks, you can say that you personally came to Mexico and shut our shit down. They don't care. They want that tax break because it is a windfall for them. And yet you have, it's the same thing with Carrier, right? So the first thing that he took credit for, first thing he took credit for was Carrier. But what people didn't realize, those 1,000 jobs, that was in exchange for $7 million in tax incentives from the state of Indiana. $7 million in tax incentives, in addition to the corporate tax breaks they're getting ready to receive from Donald Trump. So Donald Trump is managing to do two things. He's managing to play the card of economic populists, protectionism, and doing things for the working class, while simultaneously not doing anything for the working class, but giving a windfall to corporations. I mean, sure, this is going to help the 700 people who got their jobs from Ford. It's going to help the 1,000 people, or maybe 1,500, I forgot the exact number, who are going to keep their jobs at Carrier. And again, I don't belittle that because I have been in those situations. I understand the value of one person having a job saved. I get it. But in terms of the overall economic paradigm, it is not scalable. He is not going to be able to give $7 million in tax incentives from every single state to every corporation that's threatening to go overseas. If they realize that they could get that from him, then Donald Trump becomes their bitch, right? Donald Trump then gets to turn around, the corporations then get to turn around and say, well, we're going overseas, and Donald Trump is going to try to save face by getting some tax incentives and some tax breaks. It's not scalable, it's not tenable, it's not sustainable, but it's good for politics. And it's good for a news cycle because very few people are going to actually listen to the entire speech from the Ford CEO, and very few people are going to stick around long enough to realize that the Carrier deal was simply a giveaway. That money every dime that leaves the government, leaves from infrastructure projects, leaves from safety nets, leaves from education. They are gutting the American system, making people think that he's doing something for the working class. Hendricks, the CEO, this is the last thing I'll say about this. He said the revised forecast didn't justify building an entirely new plant. Now, who's talking about that today versus, oh, Donald Trump tweeted and the CEOs did what he said? We don't have enough time to debunk all of the bullshit that we're getting ready to go through. What we're going to have is we're going to have a bunch of people who seriously believe that Donald Trump's presence alone causes these types of changes and will not investigate or research enough to realize these companies were either going to do these moves. First of all, let's be clear. The companies, let's be logical, which is a little bit too much to ask of some people who love Donald Trump. There's not a single company that's going to make a business decision that is not going to benefit their bottom line. It's practically in every single charter. Any decision that's not benefiting their bottom line is like a fireable offense. You know, you don't stick around if you're making bad business decisions. If it is more profitable for them to still go over to Mexico, they will do it. They see that it's no longer profitable, not because of the threat of taxes from Donald Trump, but because it just doesn't fit their business model anymore. And if they could stroke Donald Trump's ego by saying, oh, you know, we have confidence in his pro-growth economic policies, in order to sustain and promote and get that tax break, every CEO around this country will line up and kiss Donald Trump's ass so that they can get that tax break. Bottom line in the conversation. But it has absolutely zero to do with Donald Trump's presence. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Ben, it's Bryce. What's going on?
What's going on, Bryce? What's on your mind?
Excuse me. The thing about Trump's presidency that's could be a big issue is he could flip the script and be so Republican status quo and not really, go off the rails, which is a concern, would be a concern if he flipped the script and be status quo Republican, he could get reelected. I mean, that's how Bush won. We know he stole the first time, but when he got reelected because he was kind of so status quo, and the country was kind of like, I guess, up and down before it went downhill. But that's a concern that he could flip the script where all say is going to be this, is going to be that, people going crazy, and then he flips the script and he gets all these corporate people, which he's been putting around him.
Oh yeah.
He get all these people. He flips the script, and then he becomes status quo, where the country in 4 years is like up and down, but not horrible, and then he gets reelected. That's the only thing that's kind of like in the back of my mind got me like thinking like, man, I just hope that he is bad enough to lose.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But
so here's the thing with that, Bryce. Here's the thing with that. Donald Trump honestly believes his own bullshit. And he honestly believes that he is bigger than the office of the presidency. Not even just bigger than the office of the president. Donald Trump actually believes that he's bigger than America, period. America's economy, America's problems, the office of the presidency. He believes that he's bigger than all that. And you can't tell him shit right now because he's riding on this high. He won the election. He actually, what can you tell him? I can tell him this. The office of the presidency and the American economy and international problems are so large, it's going to humble him. Whether it makes him a humble person, that's totally different, but it's going to break him. He's not going to make it through 4 years unscathed. It's impossible. There's not a presidency that actually, I'm trying to think of a single presidency in history that's not been shaped by outside forces. Donald Trump thinks he's in charge. The world is bigger than Donald Trump. America is bigger than Donald Trump. The economy, all it's going to take is the right bubble to burst, and the economy will come crashing down on him, and there will be absolutely nothing that he can do to stop the crash. All he can do would be to gather his fiscal policy and get with the Fed and hope for them to have a sane monetary policy to respond. That's it. He can respond, but he's not going to be able to stop an international crisis. He can respond, but he can't stop it. And so right now he's riding on this high where he thinks his sheer presence alone is going to fix all of the world's problems. And you have all of these sycophants who are lining up actually believing this also, that all Trump had to do was tweet and he saved all these jobs. January 20th can't get here soon enough. He's all of our problems now, right? Donald Trump is everyone's problem. And I just can't, honestly, I'm looking forward to the moment. I won't see it on video because it's going to happen in private. But the office of the presidency, the economy, international problems, they're going to break his effing spirit so much that I hope it actually happens on tape, on film, so that we can capture the exact moment when he realized he's not shit, but the president of the United States. Anyway, 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. Enough about Donald Trump for now. There will be more about him for the next 4 years. You're going to have to hear about him. Let's talk about the House of Representatives. They wasted no time trying to repeal Obamacare. Now, this is the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans know how to play to their audience and to play to their base. And they knew full and damn well that on day one, they had to make a measure to overturn Obamacare, to repeal Obamacare. Even if they can't replace it, they want to repeal it. And that's what this is about. They're playing to their base. Here's the second thing the Democrats don't know how to do that Republicans know how to do. Republicans, if the Democrats had ever made a step on any issue that was significant to the Republicans' base, the Republicans would have made sure that robocalls, real life calls, flyers, emails would have gone out to every Republican in the damn United States. And I'm just curious, how many people realize exactly what they're going to lose when they lose Obamacare? Obama should have had every person who is registered for Obamacare receive a phone call letting them know that Congress is trying to take away their health care. And not just that, but go into specific details, right? But that's not what Democrats do. I don't know what the hell they do, to be honest with you, because it seems like the Republicans know how to do this. Republicans know how to do bad good. They do evil really well. They're great at that shit, while the Democrats are either tacitly just sitting there because they want the same thing done and they just don't want to be blamed for it, so that's why they let them do it. That's a strong possibility. Or they're just feckless. Either way, they shouldn't be in charge. Either they don't know what they're doing or they're complicit. Either way, they need to go. But today, they started the process, or a test run, if you want to call it, of repealing Obamacare just a few hours after the new Congress convened today. This is going to serve as their method of repealing it. Much of the GOP's anger over the last 8 years has been directly focused on Obamacare, and this is a play to their base. This is their way of rewarding their base. The way they're going to reward their base is by taking the benefits away from 11 million of them. Mike Enzi, Republican from Wyoming, chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, said, quote, "Today, we make the first steps to repair the nation's broken healthcare system, removing Washington from the equation and putting control back where it belongs with patients, their families, and their doctors." You gotta love the spin. You gotta love the spin. This is such a positive sounding thing. What's not being said is 11 million of you idiots are going to lose access to health care with a pre-existing condition. You're going to lose the ability to get health care outside of an employer. Maybe you're not working. You're going to lose the subsidies. You're going to lose the ability to keep your kids on your health care till they're 27. And there was an estimate that said if Obamacare is repealed, an estimated of 10,000 people a year will die because of lack of access to coverage. So not only are 11 million people going to lose their coverage, but about 10,000 of them are going to die. And yet Enzi writes this wonderfully positive sounding spin. Today, we take the first steps to repair the nation's broken health care. The only thing broken with it is that we are afraid of going to single payer system. I mean, everything is broken with it, but Obamacare is about the best capitalistic neoliberal fix that you can put on our broken system. But I digress. The spin is beautiful. He says we're going to put control back into the hands of where it belongs. Patients, families, and their doctors. So positive. And somebody is going to listen to that and they're going to smile and think, yes, we effing did it. We finally got rid of that socialist, communist, Kenyan, Muslim Obamacare. And that same somebody might be one of the 10,000 people that are going to die each year. And there's nothing Democrats can do about it. Oh, this is done. This is going to be a done deal. Democrats are completely out of control, out of power. The Republicans are going to be able to do this in no time flat. According to CNN, Republican lawmakers say they don't want 20 million people. I'm sorry, I said 11. It's 20 million. 20 million people who have newly gained insurance because of the Affordable Care Act to lose their coverage. They plan to phase out Obamacare over time while they devise a replacement. While they revise a replacement plan that will make affordable health insurance available to everyone, but without a mandate. Well, it doesn't work without a mandate. And this is the problem with the Republican Party. They've had 6 years, 2010? It was 2010. So they've had 6 years. They've had 6 years to come up with a plan to replace Obamacare. If they are incapable of coming up with a plan in 6 years, they're not going to be able to get a plan. And the reason they're not going to be able to come up with a plan is because their plan was the plan that Obama put in place. Obamacare is Romneycare, is a product of the Heritage Foundation. This is their plan. And this just shows you the nature of partisan politics, that because Obama put their plan into place, they had to come out full swinging against it because they could not give Obama any credit for doing anything right. See, Republicans know how to play politics. But I digress. That was the last segment. They have no plan. They can't come up with a plan. They can't put a plan together that's going to actually allow for people to have, with pre-existing conditions, to get coverage without a mandate. The mandate is what puts healthy people into the system so that they can defray the cost of the sick. And without the mandate, it's impossible for them to have a tenable plan. But I can't wait for them to try. Go ahead, Republicans. Go ahead and try. Do your best. And we'll be sitting here just watching, just looking at the shit fall apart. And, I guess I have a sick sense of humor. I know this is going to hurt a lot of people. It is. And my heart breaks for them. It really does. But some of these same people voted Donald Trump in or didn't vote at all. And some of these people are going to sit back and celebrate their own demise. And the Republicans are running headlong into the situation where they have to fix it because it wasn't broke. Well, it was broken. But I wanted to use the cliche, if it wasn't broke, don't try to fix it. But that's not necessarily true. But they're running headlong into trying to create something different, which is going to put them directly in the sights of the American public. This is not going to end well for them. It's not going to end well for America. I get that. But hey, this is the new America. This is the new America. This is where we are. The Republicans are going to be able to do everything they've always dreamed about. And the majority of the things that they dream about is directly detrimental to the average American, such that it actually is going to kill people, like literally, or at least according to research. So, it might sound bad that I'm laughing about this, but I really can't wait to see them try. Here's their strategy, though. One last note on their strategy. They're going to repeal it like as soon as Donald Trump, January 20th, that might be the very first piece of legislation that Donald Trump signs, repealing it. Donald Trump says he wants a replacement. He's not going to have a replacement, but there's going to be tremendous pressure for him to keep that campaign promise. He's going to repeal it, and it won't take into effect until 2019, which helps them get past the 2018 midterms, which was going to secure their supermajorities in the Senate and make it that much easier for them to do whatever they want all the way through 2020. The problem is that they play this game so well, and the Democrats are either complicit or they're completely feckless. And that's why they don't need to be in charge. 857-600-0518 if you want to join the conversation. All right, moving on from Obamacare. So maybe I'll start this session like this. no pun intended, Jeff Sessions. I mean, we just legalized weed here in marijuana, weed here in Massachusetts. And Jeff Sessions is like the most anti-weed person in the world. And I'm mighty afraid he's going to come in and like wage war on marijuana here in Massachusetts. Not that it's that important to me. But that on top of all of the problems of Jeff Sessions, his racist background, his racial baggage, his entire attitude towards criminal justice reform. Jeff Sessions is probably one. His attitude towards illegal immigration period, deportations. His attitude towards so many things are highly detrimental to people of color, minority groups. If he can weigh in on the LGBT marriage equality movement, he will. In any form or fashion that he can. He is a staunch religious conservative who thinks that people who smoke weed are just bad people. So he's going to bring in a war against everything that's not neatly fit into the conservative Christian ideology, political ideology. All right, so I think Jeff Sessions is one of the most dangerous appointments that Donald Trump has made so far, and he's appointing him to Attorney General. Today, NAACP President Cornell William Brooks was among 10 to 20 people, 20 members of the civil rights organization who participated in a sit-in protesting the nomination of Jeff Sessions. And during that sit-in, the CEO, or the president rather, of the NAACP was arrested. They're protesting on behalf of some of the things that Jeff Sessions said. Jeff Sessions believes that the Klan, Ku Klux Klan, now he denies this at this point, but there's plenty of people who can attest to him having said that the Ku Klux Klan is quote unquote okay. He hinted that he might roll back advances in the Obama administration has made against police misconduct. He opposes the Voting Rights Act. He actually referred to it as quote intrusive legislation. But that's the point, right? The point is that, states who have a problem like Alabama, who had a problem with voting rights, needed the federal government to come in and to help them get over their problem with voting rights. And that's the nicest way I could possibly say it. In other words, southern states, primarily southern states like Alabama, did everything they could to block people of color, African Americans, from voting. And it required intervention from the federal government. Jeff Sessions doesn't like that intervention. It's ironic that they are super duper okay with the federal government intervening on moral issues, what they believe to be moral issues, and then they are completely against the government intervening on things that they feel are against their moral issues, their moral beliefs. So it's like at certain times they're all about states' rights. Other times they don't give a damn about states' rights. Case in point, the NRA, they're looking for what's it called, recidivism? I forgot there's the phrase where they want their license to be recognized across the country, right? So if you can get a gun in Alabama, that license has to be recognized in Massachusetts, right? So you have Republicans who are all about states' rights up until the point where it infringes on something that they stand for. And then they're totally okay with doing away with states' rights when it benefits something that they want. So Cornell Brooks, he said, quote, "We don't derive any pleasure from opposing this nomination, but here's what we know. The Voting Rights Act was literally born in Selma, Alabama, and Senator Sessions is a son of Selma. He was born in Selma." I didn't know that. I was born in Selma too. But if we look at what Selma means, if we look at what the Voting Rights Act means, and we look at his record, we have to oppose him. In addition to the sit-in from the NAACP against Jeff Sessions, according to the Washington Post, a group of more than 1,100 law school professors from across the country are sending a letter to Congress on Tuesday, have sent a letter to Congress today, urging that the Senate reject the nomination of Senator Jeff Sessions for Attorney General. It was signed by professors from 170 law schools in 48 different states. They said, quote, "We are convinced that Jeff Sessions would not fairly enforce our nation's laws and promote justice and equality in the United States." There you have it. Jeff Sessions is probably one of the most dangerous appointments that Donald Trump could make. And he's the one that we have to let our senators know there is a cost to pay. If you live in a state with a Republican senator, because if a single Democrat votes for this man, if a single Democrat votes for this man, they need to be primaried, period, bottom line. But if you live in a state, both of our senators are Democrat. If you live in a state that has a Republican senator, you need to get on the phone, call your senators, and put pressure on them and let them know that you're not only going to vote against them in 2018 or whenever their election is up, you're going to organize against them. And that this is a non-starter. This is absolutely unequivocally a non-negotiable. If they vote for Jeff Sessions, we are organizing against them. Let your senator know. All right. In other news, a lot happening. We're just going to keep running them down. I have no idea what time it is. What time? Oh, we got a few minutes. Okay, here we go. In other news, the Bushes and the Clintons are going to be at Donald Trump's inauguration. I guess I want to clap there for some reason. I don't know why. I just felt compelled to play my clap track. This is not a surprise, right? In a lot of ways, this is I didn't expect anything different. I didn't expect anything different. Like, I know Jimmy Carter was the only person to RSVP. He's the only former president to RSVP for the inauguration, but I knew that was only temporary. I had full expectation to see every living president there. And so this is confirmed. Bush's father, George H.W., he won't be attending because of his health, but Bush will be there. William Jefferson Clinton will be there. Hillary Clinton will be there. And, of course, Obama and his wife. Hillary Clinton, of course, is going to be there in the capacity as former first lady. So this is no surprise. This is not really breaking news. The only thing I would say about this is that if you honestly believe that Donald Trump, and this is a take, this is not my original take. Everybody is saying this today, and it makes perfect sense, right? If you honestly believe that Donald Trump is a Russian stooge who has been the Putin's and the Kremlin's Manchurian candidate, if you honestly believe that, how do you go attend his inauguration? Or are you saying that calling him a fascist and calling him the Kremlin Manchurian candidate is just a political ploy for fundraising? Which then makes me believe, which I already did believe, the entire quote unquote or hashtag resistance is nothing more than a marketing ploy. It's a brilliant marketing ploy. But how do you go to the inauguration? How do you put your stamp of approval? And the people behind the resistance are lockstep with Hillary Clinton. I mean, hell, the people, according to one report today, they have a war room they put together a war room to oppose Donald Trump. And that war room is being headed up by former Clinton staffers. So if they really believe this, how could they put a war room together to lead a resistance and fight back against fascism while their boss goes to the inauguration of the fascist? Now, if I go, which I'm planning on, I might just jump in my car and drive down. I'm going to cover it. I'm not going to participate in the festivities except for the off the record festivities, right? There's going to be a lot of anyway, I'm sorry, that's neither here nor there, but I'm going to cover it, right? We have a responsibility to be there. But, as your organization, Hillary Clinton, Center for American Progress, that's directly connected to the Clintons. Media Matters, directly connected to the Clintons. I mean, Blue Nation Review, Share Blue, Pantsuits Nation, all of that is nothing but the brainchild of propagandists who have worked for the Clintons since the Kenneth Starr scandal. David Brooks has been with the Clintons for a long time, and he has his imprint on all of these organizations. Not David Brooks, is it Mike, whatever his name is? David Brock. David Brock has been with the Clintons for a very long time. His handprint is on all of these things. So if they really believe it's fascist, they need to pull the ear of Hillary Clinton and say, resist. That's what the hell this is, right? This is a resistance. Or maybe, just maybe, it's not Donald Trump by himself that we have to resist. We have to resist the entire elite structure of the United States. Maybe that's where the real resistance is, which shows you what I said yesterday is absolutely true, that we can't just fight against Donald Trump. We can't just resist Donald Trump. We have to rebel against the neoliberal third-wave Democrats who would sit on the same stage with Donald Trump. Shit, they sit on the same stage with, they love Glenn Beck now. I mean, I know it's two totally different tiers of importance, but it gives you an idea. They are totally okay with Evan McMullin from Utah. I like Evan McMullin as the guy who ran for president, independent conservative. Yeah, I like him as a person who makes good jokes on Donald Trump, but I'm not going to be in lockstep with him on anything, not even the resistance against Donald Trump, because if you co-sign with the resistance, then yeah, you're co-signing on what they want to replace Donald Trump with. I'm not interested in replacing Donald Trump with the Evan McMullin whose policies are just as detrimental as Donald Trump. He just is more polite about it. Same with John Kasich. I'm not going to co-sign with John Kasich just because John Kasich is going to oppose Donald Trump, which he's not, but it's just an example. Why would I co-sign with John Kasich when John Kasich is just big of a son of a bitch as Donald Trump when it comes to policies? So to the resistance, it's like, what are you resisting? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're fundraising. That's all you're doing. You're raising money. I'm raising a lot of it. So I have to tip my hat to you, you know. I literally, to the radio audience, I literally just fucking tipped my hat. But I have to tip my hat to you because it's a brilliant marketing strategy. It's a great hashtag. It makes it seem like you're legit. It makes it seem like you're serious. It makes it seem like you mean business. Like you're going to really you're going to get your, anyway, I talked about lattes yesterday. I'm going to leave them alone. There's a picture of a lady. I don't know who she is. Sorry, but I got to call out. There's a picture of a lady at the Hollywood Walk of Fame or whatever, the stars on Hollywood, with in front of Donald Trump's star with a poster saying, "We are the resistance," smiling like her perfect picture for Facebook. I'm sure she's going to get 1,000 likes on that. What are we resisting? What are you resisting, Hillary? David Brock, Media Matters, Share Blue, Blue Nation Review, Center for American Progress. What the hell are you resisting if your queen bee is going to be just sitting there? Oh, I know people say it's out of respect for the office. What else is she supposed to do? Well, fine. Then don't call it a resistance. Call it, we lost. We lost and we'll try it again in 4 years. Anyway. All right. This is probably the last story I have time for. Yep. I barely have time for this one. I keep doing that. Megyn Kelly. Actually, no. Yeah, I'm going to do a couple more stories. We might run over time. Megyn Kelly is leaving Fox News and she is going to NBC. She looks so serious in that picture back there, doesn't she? Megyn Kelly, who brought you great hits like Jesus Was a White Man, and other great hits such as Don't Worry, Kids, Santa Claus is Just a White Man. It's just a fact of reality. Relax, kids. The Megyn Kelly, who also brought you hits such as every other episode of the Kelly File talking about the new Black Panther Party, calling the teenage girl who was thrown around like a rag doll by a Texas police officer at a swimming party, saying that, well, she wasn't an angel, as to say that she deserved to get tossed around like a rag doll. Megyn Kelly, who is so problematic on so many things. is leaving Fox News. It's going to be on NBC. Matter of fact, I tell you what Media Matters is good for. Media Matters is good for putting clips together. So the clip I'm going to play is actually a clip that's produced by Media Matters. I mean, still, Media Matters can go to hell, but they did the homework for me, and I don't. Oh, wait a minute. It's not in this folder. Son of a bitch. Okay, well, the live audience, you can't get it. Where the hell is this video? Shit. Anyway, my producer is going to be a wonderful dude and throw it in there. You can watch it in the clip. But Megyn Kelly has a problem. Megyn Kelly has a huge problem with race, and it's either a genuine problem, and she's just like this, blonde racist, or she's a professional propagandist who realized her audience and was willing to say anything she had to say to pander to that audience. Either way, she's dangerous as shit and has no place at it's NBC. What the hell do you expect? I have no more expectations of our mainstream media. But this is the interesting thing. This is what I think is going to happen. You're not going to recognize Megyn Kelly when she gets to NBC. She's not taking any of that Fox News shit to NBC. Megyn Kelly is cleaning up her act. She's going to be like Katie Couric. She's going to have a daytime show. She might talk about the news. She might talk about politics, but she's going to be family friendly, non-controversial. She's going to be the white female Steve Harvey that everybody loves. You're not even going to recognize her in about a year because she knows, I think she's a professional propagandist who knows how to say exactly what her audience wants. Which means she has no center, no guiding moral principle, which means she could pander, if the opportunity was right and the price was right, she would pander for an actual fascist. She's talented, though. I'll tell you that much. She's talented because anybody who can switch from being a rabid dog whistle racist and just an outright racist from time to time, and then can flip and become, Katie Couric, that's talent. Last but not least for tonight, definitely not least, actually, no, I'm going to stop there. Yeah, I changed my mind. I'm going to stop there because the story that I missed, I'm going to have to do it. I want to give it its due justice. So, folks, that's all for tonight. It's been fun, but I've got to run. See you later.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.